are here with Matthew, and we are going to talk a little bit about his work. First of all, happy release and congrats for your album.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
And I'm Krish.
And I'm Lucas. Yeah, that was good. Perfect. How have you been doing, man? How it's been this last week, I guess?
I've been doing all right. Yeah. I'm glad to have the track finally out. You know, came out Thursday, so almost a week now. Yeah, it's been nice to see some sites write about it, to get on some playlists pretty early on, and yeah, like I'm really excited. The video you guys made for it is also out, and people have been really saying a lot of good things about that. So yeah, glad we were able to collaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. For us, we are also happy to get it out in the world too. Because we also, like the work itself, and how it's been, compared to the work that you've been doing with your band. How it's been like. Do you think people that enjoy your band are also digging this, or it's been like a different?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think so. Yeah, I mean, so it is kind of different than the stuff Carrie and I make with Silver Liz, but we did these 2 electronic tracks with Silver Liz in 2020 and 2021, and we got like a really great response from those 2 tracks. So I mean, I've been kind of pushing it from like the Silver Liz page or the Silver Liz Instagram. I've been saying like, if you like these electronic tracks from Silver Liz, you'd probably like this newer stuff because, the Silver Liz electronic tracks and this track both have this sort of like shoegazy wall of sound influence that I thought people would enjoy. And yeah, we have had some people from the Silver Liz Instagram say that they really liked the new track and everything. So yeah,
right.
I think so.
Is it
But yeah, go ahead.
I was asking if it's your first time releasing something alone without a band.
Yeah, just by
yourself. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. When I was in like college, I would release stuff on SoundCloud and like post about it, but it wasn't really like a serious project. It was just kind of like stuff I was recording in my bedroom and like posting at the same night. But I've taken all that stuff down since. But yeah, this is like the first like I guess serious release I've put out like under my own name. So
and how would you say it was to let's say to find your sound, a sound, just to have your name attached, and like to create this personal sound? It was difficult, or how it was?
Yeah, I think, well, I've been working on stuff by myself for probably like 5 years now. So I think for a long time, probably going back to like 2018 or 2019, I just kind of had a bunch of demos and experiments. And I don't know, as I was just sort of making stuff for fun, I think there were some common techniques and influences that kept emerging. And eventually I felt like I sort of had a cohesive body of work that I was ready to put out under my own name that felt that I was proud of and still enjoy listening to. So yeah, it happened really naturally and organically, actually. So but then of course, like, I don't know, as I had like 5 similar tracks, I would start to like make tracks that were also in a similar vein to keep exploring like that idea, so it kind of was like a cycle or something.
Great. Yeah, I remember when I first heard when you sent us the track, and I really love it instantly. I mentioned to you because of like the energy that I felt in that track, and the fact, you know, we talking about the idea of a party happening far away or something
Yeah.
like that. And we haven't heard much of the rest of the album. So the other tracks, or you know, the entire album, does it have that same vibe, that same energy, or the other tracks are going into different directions?
I think so. Yeah, there's a similar energy on a few of the tracks. I think that there are quite a few tracks that are sort of just more straightforward, like I guess you could say club tracks. Like because like in Release Yourself, the beat, like the kick drum is sort of like softer and sort of obscured. Like you said, it almost sounds like it's happening like it's
Far
almost
away.
like you're experience, yeah, like far away or like from within a building that you're outside of or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like yeah, there are quite a few tracks that are just like, you know, they don't have this sort of experimental approach to space. It's just, you know, they're like made for playing in the club or dancing or something like
Oh,
that.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm curious to hear the rest.
I'll send it to you guys. Yeah.
Sure.
I might actually need you to, if you have time, I might need your help with like a visualizer for another track or something.
Sure, yeah.
But we can talk about that later.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember you mentioning that track had some classic music samples or some stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't hear much of a classic music there. So how did you work with that? It was some samples, or it was
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, it's well like the main sound you hear in the beginning that's like constantly looping for the first 2 minutes or so. It's actually they're just short samples of an orchestral piece by Stravinsky. And then yeah, I mean you can't really tell that it is orchestral music because there's so much distortion and compression and reverb on it. So I kind of wanted it to not sound like an orchestra, but I wanted it. Yeah, I just thought that.
Maybe it has the weight of
Yeah,
that, right? Like,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah, I think what I found about sampling and sort of manipulating orchestral music like that is like, I mean, there's so many instruments in the orchestra that are playing in these different frequency ranges, and so there's just like an already embedded rich sound. So when you manipulate that, I mean, all that richness is going to come with it, you know. Yeah, it's like way more. There's like way more richness than just like, you know, putting distortion on a guitar or something. I mean, because like when you're putting a distortion on an orchestra, you're like distorting the basses and you're distorting like the high violins and everything. So it's like this whole, you know, ensemble that is coming through and not just like a guitar. Yeah.
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 How much like instruments did you use? It was a lot of did you use some stuff that you work with Silverless, or did you experimented with some different tools?
It's pretty much just all samples and synthesizer. There's like, yeah, I recorded some synthesizer on top of it. There's some there's some Ableton instruments. But yeah, I didn't really record any like I didn't really record myself playing any instruments. Like there's no guitar, there's no bass or anything. I did actually record Carrie singing. You can kind of hear those like vocal samples that you hear. Some of those I asked her to just kind of improvise over top of the whole track, and then I kind of cut up some of the vocal samples that she provided. So yeah, but yeah, there wasn't really any like jamming on it. Yeah.
That's great. So it seems that it was a very mental thing more than a physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do
More
know what
like,
you mean.
yeah, more like having fun and see
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's.
for sure. It was more sort of like I don't know, like painting with sound or something,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Because when you start to do that, like manipulating those sounds, you don't go to that with an idea of a sound. You just, I guess, you just start
Mhm.
and see where it goes, and then
Yeah.
in the end you see if you like or not. I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm just trying to paint your process. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's actually exactly what it was like. I mean, um, I didn't really know where the track was going until I kept working on it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, like I started off with the idea that the track was going to build and then kind of drop into this like house banger.
Mhm.
Um, but then every time I tried to make it, like I actually have a demo where it turns into this like house track, but it just felt really like forced and cliche to like it just felt really cheesy to do that. So
Much like
um
David Guetta or something.
what's that?
So much like David Guetta, David
Yeah,
Guetta.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally. And I don't know, like so I kind of just had to go with my instincts, and unfortunately that, well, no, not unfortunately. I mean, like, I'm I'm glad that I went with my instincts instead of like forcing it to be some house track. But I think maybe if there are probably people that were wanting it to turn into this like house track, but instead it just kind of goes into this more like abstract ending, um, which to me I think is more interesting and fun. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
love that piece in the kind of like little after the middle, the one that we turn into the black and white
Mhm. Yeah,
images. That was a nice touch too before, the climax. Uh,
yeah,
uh, do
yeah,
you
exactly.
like do you have like more parts like that on the album?
Um, I think so. Well, I think just in the sense that it's like an unexpected left turn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that on the record, I hope. Like I don't know. I really like to surprise myself and surprise the listener by kind of subverting their expectation. And so yeah, I think that moment you're talking about in Release Yourself is a good example of that. And I think there's a lot more of that throughout the record. Yeah. Not quite like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
contrast, but just kind of like going into like a really unexpected moment or like texture or something that you didn't see coming. Yeah.
Great. And you mentioned some references. Uh, what kind of stuff were you thinking about or listening while doing this?
That's a good question. I was actually, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that the other day. There's this artist named Leland Kirby who also made music as the Caretaker. I don't know if you've heard of that
No,
before.
but cool name.
Um, but he has this album called uh I think it's called Sadly the Future What It Was. Let me verify that.
Caretaker.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah. Yeah, the Caretaker, I think this album is just under Leland Kirby, like Leyland
Mm-hmm.
Kirby, Kirby. Um, but there's this track on there called The Sound of Music Vanishing. It's the second track on that record. And I was thinking about that track a lot because it's like,
Oh yeah, I remember there's like an art a cover here that I saw.
It's a
Uh,
yeah,
rock.
Empty Bliss Beyond the World is the name of the track. I probably saw it on Pitchfork or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, he's
he cre
British.
he creates this really beautiful, melancholy um world that, like, you can tell he's I like that you can't really tell what he's sampling, you know? Like, I wanted to sort of, but you can kind of tell that he's maybe sampling some classical music or something, but you're not quite sure. And I really just like not knowing what I'm listening to when I'm listening to it, you know?
Mhm.
And I kind of wanted to, I guess that's maybe what inspired me to look to classical music for samples. Um, yeah.
I
So I was
was
thinking about that, and yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just I remember remembering of an artist that we did a visual for him like 2 years ago. I don't know
Okay.
if you know him. His name he goes as Nick Snot, his solo project, but he's from a very well-known band called very well known that I forgot the name. So
Okay.
Arab Strap,
Okay.
you know, and
No,
but
I don't think I've listened to them.
yeah,
No.
maybe you should check it out.
Yeah.
We did for a track called Thriller, and yeah, kind of similar energy in that tune at least. So I
Yeah,
just came to my mind because we were talking about artists. Uh, yeah.
I'll check it. Yeah, send it to me. I'd like to check that out. Um, I'm always, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. So that was in like Leland Kirby. I mean, I'm always interested. Like, I don't know. I mean, for me, like, you know, people are going to compare it to shoegaze. Like, it does kind of have this shoegazy sound, you know, and it's like, I don't listen to shoegaze that often. I just really, really like My Bloody Valentine, you know, like,
Yeah,
and I don't know. I just think like,
it's
um,
not the first thing that comes in mind
oh really?
in
Oh,
my
that's
mind. No, because shoegaze normally
It's more blur, I guess.
And it's more guitar stuff for me, you know. Just
Yeah.
talking about what first thing that comes to mind. But if I would mention a shoegaze album, maybe it's more like that the last My Bloody Valentine one that they worked more with drums and stuff like that. I can see
yeah.
more in that vein. But
That's
for me it was maybe more like Aphex Twin or some stuff like that.
oh cool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure. No, I'm glad that you mentioned the newer My Bloody Valentine record, because that's my favorite one. Like, I like that one way more than
Love that.
Loveless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even just because of the sound. I mean, like, you know, yeah, it sounds like shoegaze, but I think what's more interesting about that record is, yeah, like what you were saying, like the way that they incorporate drums, and how like this like the arc of the album itself gets more and more percussive as it goes
Yeah,
on, you know. It's like,
I think
um
I don't know.
yeah,
Probably I'm wrong, but I don't feel that that album got so much recognition as it deserved. And for me, I think like Loveless is the guitar album, and
mhm.
I for me that one is like the drum album, you know.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
and yeah, I think it's kind of on the same level as Loveless in thinking in those terms, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love that, the newer My Bloody Valentine record. Like, yeah, I think the musical ideas in that record are just so much more interesting. Like, if they made that record with like acoustic guitars instead of electric guitars, I think
Mhm.
like it would be like just as interesting or something, you know? Like, yeah, for me it has like almost nothing to do with the sound as much as it's just like the ideas, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
do you have any plans to play live with this stuff? Do some concert?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Well, I mean, I've been getting into DJing, so I'll probably that's how I'll probably promote it, is by
Mhm.
slipping some of it into DJ sets maybe.
Oh, that's
Um, yeah, but I don't really have a live set planned with like instruments or Ableton and things like that. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I guess I'm like like waiting like for someone to ask me, and then
Mhm.
whenever I actually have a show on the calendar, then it'll force me to like put together a live set
Mhm.
or something, you know, which is maybe like a risky idea, but
But
I
do
don't know.
you more like a personal question, but do you enjoy that environment? Do you like clubs? Do you like to go out and go to places like that?
I do. I don't do it very often actually, but I every time I do go to a club or see a DJ, I really enjoy it. I've been doing more of that lately actually.
That's cool. I
But
imagine there's some great places in New York.
oh yeah, for sure. It's actually it's overwhelming how much is going on here, like all the time, you know?
Yeah, I imagine. That's a world that I assume it's very relatable with New York. Overwhelming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about this, like, because you
Yeah.
guys were talking about your like your idea of New York right now kind of comes from that show How To with John Wilson. I remember
Yeah,
we talked
Yeah.
about that
I
before, and
was
like
thinking about that.
it's so accurate. Like that, yes, that is
Yeah.
totally New York. Yeah, yeah.
But
It's like
I mentioned that we're talking with a musician from Bowery, and
yeah,
he has a mini documentary on his site, and and it's about the neighborhood, and it's such a crazy neighborhood. They have like a skate park full of graffiti. It's very different from other places that I normally associate with New York. So I guess that's just a proof of how big it is.
mm-hmm.
Don't know if
Yeah.
you like that zone or if you.
I like skate parks
No, I
or
mean
But
the Bowery. Yeah.
oh the Bower. Yeah, that's in Manhattan. I yeah, I mean I live in Brooklyn, so I don't know. I get to Manhattan maybe like once or twice a week, if
Mhm.
that. But I don't know. I haven't really spent too much dedicated time in Bowery. But
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
I imagine that you already have so much stuff around you that you don't have to go so far away
yeah,
to find place.
how do you choose your delivery when you want to food delivery?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a couple places we frequent. There's a well, we have a pretty good pizza place right around the corner. They're called
That's all
Rocco.
you need,
Yeah, pretty much.
in my opinion.
You know, they're like I don't know, like there's this well, okay, so we used to okay, there's this Chinese place. Like actually like the Chinese food around here is mostly pretty bad for the most
Yeah.
part. Yeah, it's really weird. But we like when we lived like a mile south, um, the local Chinese place was like it was so good. And so now like probably once a week I actually walk a mile down just to get that Chinese food because like they don't deliver, so like the only way I can get it is to pick it up. So,
But it's
but
worth.
it's totally worth it. Yeah. So I don't know. I do that.
And just to like going back to the music, do you think
Yeah.
in any way that this New York, this environment inspired you in any way with the creation of the sounds?
Yeah.
I'm asking because like we have a
Yeah.
friend here, you probably know or hear about him, Pete Camber. He's from Sonic Boom. He goes at Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The
So
Panda Bear collab. Yeah.
yeah. He used to live in the UK, and
Mhm.
his sound was very different. And then he moved here to Portugal, and he got a house, and he kind of got addicted into plants. So he has a lot of plants and a beautiful garden, and that reflected a lot on his latest album.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the first time that I actually, had. Like a first person, and like I noticed how the environment changed him. So that's why I
Mhm.
ask if you feel that have any like if it plays a part in the music.
Yeah, that would be, I'm sure it does. It would be really hard to articulate exactly how, but it makes me think about how, I was listening to Brian Eno actually talk about the same question, and he was saying that when he moved to New York, the years that he lived in New York, he actually made his quietest music that he ever made, which is, like the total opposite of what you would expect. And I think he was just sort of reacting against his environment. And I don't know in some ways, I feel like that's true for me too, because I feel like since I've moved to New York, I've been exploring more like ambient music. And I think that's true for a lot of people right now. I feel like ambient music is having this sort of mainstream moment, but I think it also has to do with like I don't know. I mean, I think I just like while I was making this music and making this record, I mean, most of the time I would actually consume music was while I'd be like working, like my day job. And so I would be a lot of the music I was listening to was like repetitive sort of ambient music, and so that's kind of I think what influenced the sound of this record. But I don't know, that's not really specific to New York.
Oh, I imagine
I,
those places
yeah,
that you say that you are going, like those clubs and
yeah,
that environment.
And the restaurant.
yeah.
And the
Well,
restaurants, yeah, for sure.
yes, yeah. I think I think in general, like the people, the people who come to New York to make music, I feel like are really interested in just like pushing the boundaries in some way, or like taking their musical ideas to the extreme in one way or the other. And I think that knowing that has probably had an impact on some of these tracks, like, just in terms of how loud and distorted they are. I think I was just kind of um inspired to just like do something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, not that this is necessarily that crazy, but I think I've been more inclined to just kind of like run with ideas that maybe feel like a bit much in one way or the other or something like that, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I think just the yeah, like pushing boundaries for myself at least. Like I don't think any of this music is like super groundbreaking in any way, but like, for me, that's kind of like getting outside of my own comfort zone.
It's a new territory for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think like just being in New York, knowing that you're amidst like some of the most talented creative people in the world is really inspiring and motivating for me to sort of make the best music that I feel that I can, yeah, because there's like you never know who's gonna just reach out to you and be like, hey, do you want to play this show, or do you want to like do this DJ set? So it kind of puts you in this headspace that like you need to have your best material ready at like any time, so I think that's how New York has, I think, inspired my work.